think you just learn to. I mean, if you learn to get along, or you don't. So we learn to get along. But
Harder, I think, on our first tours, because you have to, not just that, but everything, because you have to learn. If you've never toured before and all of a sudden you're starting to go on 6-week, 8-week, for our second tour we ever did was 3 months long.
Yeah.
So I think you have to just learn a lot of lessons the hard way sometimes. That's the only way you can really kind of figure it out. To keep from killing each other, we also have 2 other people on tour with us. So there's actually 4 of us.
Okay.
So then when we first started touring, it was just the 2 of us. But now there's 4, so there's kind of more of a group dynamic.
Obviously, the big thing that happens is you start trading in all the newer songs for older ones, so we just don't play as many of the older ones anymore. We've tried to kind of change which of the old songs we play, because we're playing the whole Celebration Rock album every night right now on tour, because it's all new, and then out of the old songs there maybe be a different mix from night to night, which is cool. Like one thing about touring on Post Nothing was that we just didn't have that many songs, and people were basically only familiar with one album if they came to the concerts. They didn't really know a lot of our earlier material, so we toured for a year and a half basically playing a very similar set list every night, whereas now there's a lot of things will remain the same in the set list, but we can change things up a little bit, which is much more. It's just a little bit more fun, and you can make it a bit more spontaneous, because if somebody comes up to you, like for example yesterday, the band that we were playing with, a band from Poznan, and one of the guys from the band was saying how much he likes the song Heart Sweats, and we weren't going to play that, but he just mentioned it was like, that's such a good song, you guys should play that tonight. And we were like, okay. And it's fun to be able to be a bit more spontaneous like that. It makes it more interesting, especially when you're doing so many concerts night after night after night.
We also play for longer than we used to play.
Okay. That's true.
So we used to play, when we were on Post Nothing, we were probably playing about an hour every night, and now we're trying to play, if we can, for more like an hour and a half. Cool. So trying to play, instead of playing 10 songs, we're trying to play 15 or 16 songs if we can. So yeah, I think it just comes from getting older. And I think that Post Nothing, I don't think we can make a better record about the things that we wrote about at that time than Post Nothing. And I think the same for Celebration Rock. I don't think anyone would want to hear another record that dealt with exactly the same content or exactly the same themes. I don't like that from the bands that I, listen to, with possible exception of the Ramones or AC/DC.
Okay.
But those very specific bands. But I think people. I think to have a personal connection with the band through their lyrics, you have to, especially if you start listening to the band early, like on their first album, then as the band grows and kind of changes, you grow as well with them.
I think it's hard. Yeah, I think it's a hard thing for for me to know. I mean, it's hard to know what my life would have been like if Post Nothing had come out when I was 20 instead of 25, 26. I think there's like a trade-off. We do know. We've toured with a lot of bands who are kind of going through the same thing as us. In terms of having one album that's kind of taken off and they've started touring a lot. And sometimes those bands are around our age, and sometimes they're much younger than us. And, you're kind of all still going through very similar things. I think, when you're younger, it's probably a bit easier to completely like abandon your life at home and just go on the road forever and ever. I think, as you get older, that I could see that becoming a more difficult thing maybe.
Yeah, because we started playing in the bands much later than I think people usually are when they start bands, or at least their first band. So the one advantage of that is that I think it's easier actually to appreciate the success of your band or like what's happening when the older you are, because if you're 18 or 19 and you start a band and record an album and you find some success with that, I don't know if you're really quite as you might not have the understanding of exactly what's the significance of what's happening to you the way you would if you were 10 years older than that when it happened. We went to university, which is where we met each other, and we had a lot of experiences there in school that we see young bands having on tour on the road, and that's not necessarily a positive thing. We managed to be a band for 7 years and are still here playing tonight. There was a day I remember when I was working at my old job, and I got an email from a friend of ours and said, "Have you looked at Pitchfork today?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Just go to it right now." And our song was on the front page of the website. And that to me was a moment where I realized like at that time, this is a few years ago now, and the world of kind of online music and websites and that stuff has changed a lot. But at that time, if that website even mentioned, you input your song on, was like something was going to happen to you like that day. Mm-hmm. Like that was like, it was very much before and after. Mm-hmm. And I had watched bands you'd never heard of, but reading the website because it's cool website, and you find out about bands, and you as a music fan you would see them post a song for some band, and then 6 months later, a year later, they would be a real band that toured and was in magazines and was popular and was played festivals and all that kind of stuff. So there was a very much if that happens to you, that other stuff might happen to you as well. And considering nothing like even close to that had ever happened to us before that was a moment for me when I was like, wow, everything's going to be different, tomorrow. And it was.
Really amazing.
Yeah, it never gets old.
It's starting to become a little bit less maybe surreal now, like less surprising. Like we're playing Poland we've played Warsaw before, so now it's like, okay, there's probably going to be people here. There were people here last time, but it doesn't make it any less special. It's still a really incredible feeling to travel to places and feel a connection with people through your music.
This tour, we're going to a lot of places for the first time. We already have a few countries, but we're going to more. And those shows, especially whenever you play somewhere for the first time, especially when it's really far away from home, it's really kind of can blow you away. The people in this place where you've never been before, and you can't even walk into a record store and buy your album at this place, and yet all these people are there to see you play. So it's pretty exciting.
The first time we came to Poland was like a really special experience, and we both still talk about it a lot, because that was a place that we had no idea whether anybody was going to come to our shows, and then they ended up being, these three really memorable, really exciting shows for us. So we've been wanting to come back here for a long time since then.